All right, let's go. You got your script ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm Carly.
I'm Sam. And I'm Freddy.
Jimmy! Oh, wait.
Spencer.
Oh my god, the other day I forgot to tell you. I was walking and I saw these two people, and one of them said some random mean comment to their friend, and then their friend goes, "Yeah, well that's what you look like," and then presses play on their phone and it goes, "Gibby." Hey everybody, I'm Tristan.
I'm Shay.
And this is Ka.
I'm Shay. What?
No, say the name of the podcast. So I say the Ka and then
Kaboom?
No. Goddamn. I'll say the first half. You'll say the second half, okay?
It's Kaboom. That's the name. Sorry. Cut. Do the cut.
Ka.
Boom.
All right. Good job, buddy. Yeah, welcome to our podcast, Kaboom. It stands for Comics Analyzed, Books on Our Mind. Yes, I'm very proud of that acronym.
It's a K.
Yeah, comics with a K, not Kaboom with a C.
Because then it could be Choboom. It could be Suboom.
Yeah.
Zaboomafoo.
We don't want that you know Zaboomafoo?
Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah. That is my man.
Well, I watch Wildcrats more.
Uh-huh. Yeah, me too.
The successor.
Yeah. Anyways, this is our podcast where we talk about comics and video games and other things that compel us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
You concur?
A little.
just a smidge.
I'll think about it. I'm silly like that, though.
So we'll start off first by just talking about how we got into the topics that this podcast covers, comics and video games. So I have generally been, like a superhero lover my whole life. I have an uncle, and he got me into like a lot of these types of media that are like staples to my identity that he doesn't even consume. Like he got me into video games, he got me into superheroes pretty much. And he does not play video games or really consume too much superhero media anymore. But I appreciate that. But a lot of my life I really just like watched movies and a lot of cartoons and stuff. But eventually I started getting into comics because at one point during my schooling career, I had an English teacher with a husband who read a lot of comics, and he would let the teacher put comics he had read in her library. And I just kind of started going through those. I started with Batman Dark Victory, the sequel to Long Halloween, and I liked that. And I just started reading more and more and more. And then one fateful day, February 14th, 2021, my mom mentioned that there was a Barnes and Noble sale going on, and I was just scrolling through what books they had that I could order, and I saw a book called Daredevil, The Man Without Fear. And Shay, you gonna say something?
I didn't want to cut you off, but you said it was February 14th.
Yeah.
So you say you kind of fell in love with Daredevil on Valentine's Day.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the day. Thank you. Yeah, that's the day I got my Daredevil book, and then once I started reading Daredevil stuff, and then eventually watched the show, that just became my thing. And then, you know, I've read nearly every Daredevil issue now, so now I'm just reading a whole bunch of other stuff. And yeah, Shay, what about you? How did you get into comics and games?
Oh boy, it's a long story. Um, my co-host, Tristan, some may know, we watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and then we watched Daredevil, the show. No, we watched the movie first, which I don't know if that was a good idea or not. But then we watched the show, and then that made me like Daredevil. And then we started doing a little Daredevil book club where we both read the same issue, an issue a day, and then whenever we can call and talk about it, we talk about it. And that was like, we started doing that around
In
Thanksgiving.
November, yeah,
Yeah.
mid to late November 2022.
That, I mean, like, I you know, watched superhero stuff, you know, MCU stuff since I was little. I saw Avengers, the first one, in theaters, and I barely remember it, and I don't know why my mom took me to it, because I was like 6, and so, like, maybe don't bring it, I don't know. But, and then I hadn't really read, prior to Daredevil with Tristan, I hadn't read any comics besides, like, I at one point, like, was like, I don't think I'll ever get into comics because that seems so daunting. But, like, just, like, you know, graphic novels. I picked up a horror one at the library called Through the Woods. That was pretty cool. And then another one I forget the name of, by the same writer. And I like that, but then I stopped reading other stuff. But then my other friend told me to read Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth by Grant Morrison and Dave McKean. And that was really cool, and I liked that a lot.
Oh yeah.
I can't even think of any other examples until Daredevil, but then after we start getting Daredevil, I was like, well, now comics are cool, and it's maybe not that hard to actually get into them. So then the next main thing, I was reading Moon Knight, and then now I'm reading like Black Panther, and mainly Marvel stuff, Black Panther, Thor, read, you know, shorter stuff, some, you know, Dark Knight Returns, all that, All-Star Superman, that kind of stuff. And that's my comic book journey.
Yeah. I I think she has a bigger brain than me. I can't read that many books at once. So
Yeah.
right now I read since I've read every issue of Daredevil besides stuff Frank Miller. Every day I read one issue of that. So right now I'm like the 90s, like in terms of issue numbers. So I read that in my free time sometimes, and then other times I read other books, but I'm having trouble thinking of what they are.
Yeah, I started because we were doing Daredevil, and then next thing I got into Moon Knight, and I tried to read like 2 issues a day. And then I was like, oh, I should have like another physical thing, you know, just get the library if I bought it for like before bed. So I just, you know, just random stuff like shorter things, Dark Knight Returns, All-Star Superman, Tom King's Vision, that I'd also read like 2 issues, or if I really am enjoying it, maybe 3 or 4 every night before bed. And then I finished Moon Knight, and then I jumped in Black Panther, but then I slowed down kind of reading that. But now I'm gonna try to read like 1 issue a day. But then I also just started Thor, and doing 2 issues of that a day, and then I also started now just Spider-Man 2099 before Across the Spider-Verse comes out, like an issue a day. So all in all, I got Daredevil, Thor, Black Panther, Spider-Man 2099, and whatever I'm reading at the nighttime, which is currently Immortal Iron Fist. Got my
pretty
hands
much.
full.
I pretty much think more about it. I got like usually one physical book. I'm always reading it. You know, I jump around with those. I'm always reading one thing online, personally, and that's my right now 70s Daredevil issues, and then I have my issue with Dave for Daredevil with Shay. But with that out of the way, now we'd like to introduce the comic that we'll be talking about this episode.
We read Radiant Black.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Radiant Black, specifically the first 12 issues and then the Supermassive issue from 2022. And we will start off by doing some non-spoilery stuff, but we really do recommend that you read it, please. Please. But yeah, so we'll do around a little non-spoiler section, just our general thoughts about it. So if you haven't read it yet, you can listen to that. Maybe we'll put you on to it, and then if you haven't read it and you keep listening after,
we have your address.
Yeah.
And your social security number.
Yeah.
And your credit card number.
Shay, do you want to start off with your general Radiant Black thoughts?
Yeah, I like it.
And that's all, folks.
It's fun, you know, for the whole family. It's the art is pleasing to the eye and the soul, and so is the writing, and it's a fresh new take on the superhero genre, and maybe there's some heart, maybe there's some laughs to be had, and fun, you know, bring your kids, you know, type of thing.
Definitely one, you know, turn on the old overhead light right above the recliner, sit the grandkids on your leg, get to
on
read
your
them.
shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything Shay said. It's good art, good writing, a lot of heart. I don't know what to say. You said my general thoughts. What if hold on. What if the perfect superhero comic for anyone missing Invincible? No, that's not a quote from Invincible writer Robert Kirkman that I read off the paperback.
I didn't even know that he was the Invincible writer.
Yeah.
I just recognized the name.
But yeah, Radiant Black, just a fun, good book.
It's very vibrant. Radiant.
Oh, nice.
We're gonna have some wordplay.
We're gonna have some wordplay. We're gonna have some tomfoolery, and most of all, we're gonna have some laughs.
We're gonna flabbergast the fudge out of people.
Nice save.
Okay.
Anyways,
Radiant Black.
Yeah. Radiant Black.
Spoiler zone.
Spoiler zone. Yeah. Just get out. This is your last chance to run. Run for your life. So I first found out about Radiant Black because of a good Twitter buddy of mine. She tweets a lot about
Elon
comics.
Musk. Sorry.
Good Twitter buddy of mine. She tweets about a lot of different comics. Found her because she tweeted about Daredevil, but she tweets about a lot of different things. One of those things being the Massiveverse. And for a while, I was seeing her tweet about this, you know, these great seeming comics, but I had a lot to get through. During that time, I was getting just through reading every Daredevil issue from the 80s till now. A lot of that was a reread, but I was throwing in stuff I had never read before, like a lot of the 90s issues. But yeah, but as I was getting through that Daredevil journey, I was getting the Radiant Black paperbacks. And then a little while ago, I started reading them, and they are very good. I before even having had read them, I knew that like they were kind of Power Rangery, and I was never really a Power Ranger kid growing up, but I knew Shay was.
I was.
hmm And I was recommending these books to Shay before I had even like opened any of them, because it's what you do. And then I started reading them, and I was like, oh my god, Shay, you need to read this. Another thing too, that me and Ship talked about is that it's surprising that with comics as visual as of a medium as they are and how art based they are, that like none of that ever really translates too much to the word bubbles.
No.
Sometimes you get like a funky font or something, but it's
Maybe
like
they're a little spiky.
yeah,
It's like,
someone's yelling.
but just with the evolution of a lot of art, especially since digital, um, doing the art digitally stuff, like with coloring and penciling and inking not really being a thing anymore. Like lettering, the actual word bubbles, you'd think would be a little more, since you can just do more with what's on the page. But no, they're just normally still pretty normal font and just word bubbles. They don't even have thought bubbles these days.
I miss
these
thought bubble.
days. Uh, and they're normally just black and white. But Radiant Black is different, which is ironic because it's called black, and so like black and white, you'd think we're all just black. It's just all black page, but it's
Yeah.
actually not. It's radiant in other colors.
Ah.
I'm so flippin' smart.
Yeah, so I started reading those, and I started seeing them do some really creative things, with the word bubbles. And I was like, oh my god, Shay grew up as a Power Rangers kid, and we've also had conversations about how, in comics, like from what we've read, there's not too often that many interesting things done with the word bubbles, and I was seeing them done here, like there's a bunch of fun tricks, like they do some thought bubbles, or they'll, when someone's talking through a window, they'll blur the bubble. So I got on my knees and I screamed and I prayed to Shay to read this book.
Okay, so getting into a little, just a little baby itsy bitsy summary. It's about this fella, at least
This
at
lad.
first. Uh, Nathan, is it Burnett or Barnett?
Burnett, I think.
Burnett. And boy's a writer. He ain't getting that money. Moves back with his family, back hometown. Goes out drinking with his buddy. Why did I forget his name?
Marshall.
Marshall. Goes out drinking with Marshall, and they see a little black hole, and Nathan touches it, and he goes Power Ranger mode with this radiant black suit, and he's got like gravity powers and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's a superhero.
Yep. So I reading that, I was like, oh, this is fun. This guy's trying to be a writer. He's struggling with money. I think that's interesting. I think it's fun and compelling. And then I got to issue 4.
Which one's that? Issue 4. Issue 4.
That's That's the one where it seems like
Oh.
Nathan might not be
Oh,
the
yeah.
main character anymore.
Yeah. I get that's kind of the prevailing uh interesting thing about this is that
Yeah,
they first three issues it's like, oh, Nathan's obviously the main character, and then he's kind of not,
yeah,
which is interesting.
yeah.
But
So, and yeah, in issue 4, he tests, he's trying to be a superhero, and that results in we even talked about like the robot existence stuff,
oh
whatever.
yeah,
It's not really explained in what we're discussing, so it is
no,
confusing, but that's like the point. um but with the radiant black powers, there's this little, like, there's a robot that anyone with their own version of the radiant can talk to, and the radiant just kind of like, Nathan gets into a big scenario, um physical wise, and
a
the robot just
kerfuffle,
yeah, and the robot just kind of deems him dead.
unworthy.
Yeah. So then the radiant gets passed on to Nathan's best friend, Marshall, who then just becomes the main character, who becomes Radiant Black. And that blew my mind.
Yeah,
Me and Shay have decided to not talk about this book until we recorded this, so we wouldn't just have to repeat a conversation. And that has been clawing at the walls of my soul for so long.
yeah, it's interesting. Because I'll say at first, and still, not it only reading first 12 issues and Supermassive. I'm not like, fully sure, but like it's an interesting choice to make, and to pull it off in any good substantial way would be pretty hard. And I think they kind of do a pretty good job at it.
Yeah. What's also very surprising with it is just like how long it takes. It's not
Yeah,
like a Spider-Man Uncle Ben thing where it's like, oh, first issue, this big important character in his life dies, he's become Spider-Man. It takes 4 issues. It's the last couple pages of issue number 4 when the switch happens. And
yeah, and but it's
yeah,
also like too quick to be like a normal, legacy passing title
yeah,
thing. It's just like Nathan's shown. Oh, is he robot deemed him unworthy? Now it's Marshall. Okay, let's continue. So
yeah.
it's quite bold, and I can respect that at the very least. But also, it does some cool stuff.
Yeah, and I like that because, yeah, like you're saying, like, it's just like mix of what we were saying, like it's just far enough in where you're like, oh, whoa, I thought we had kind of got past like the act 1 of his hero phase, but then, like you're
Mhm.
saying, it's not so late into his career. It's like, well, he had a good run. It's like, no, he just started.
Yeah, and like they really even like trick you and like really settle you in, because like first issue, just little origin stuff, and then second issue there's this kind of setting up maybe the villain or some conflict going on with a red version of him, Radiant Red. It's like Robin Banks and stuff. And the third issue is just a really nice, like, almost, kind of Peter Parker type balancing your life, and, just
Yeah,
mainly focusing on Nathan and his struggles as a writer. That's, great and relatable and stuff. And then, does some superhero stuff. And the fourth issue, he gets canned by this robot god.
yeah. He loses a fight, and the robot just kind of gives up on him. He's just like, oh, all right, you're not gonna make it. So anybody else
Yeah.
want to take the radiant?
And
Or
Marshall's
just
right
let
there.
Marshall does. Yep.
And but like, it also is like, kind of just looking back, it's like they do a good job of kind of, saying like Marshall's like taking this, being more of like, they reference like superheroes like Marvel and DC and stuff. So it's like Marshall's like, oh, this is so cool. You're a superhero. You got to,
Yeah.
train and do stuff. While Nathan's a little more, iffy about it and just wants to try to work out his personal human life. But then Marshall does get the power.
Yeah, and it's like they even with the hinting towards it, it's like Nathan just came back to his hometown because he was forced to, because his writing career is just it's failing, and he has all these things going for him, and then Marshall's just he'll occasionally be like, oh well, if I had these powers, I'd probably do this or I'd do that, and we don't really know what he has going for him, so they just kind of leave it open of just like, hey, he kind of has the time to be Radiant Black, and then
Yeah,
it
and like he
happens.
comes off as a friend, but like also kind of like
Yeah,
comedic relief
yeah,
character at first. So it definitely is surprising,
yeah, and
and
then
it's unique.
mm-hmm.
But continuing after after Marshall becomes Radiant Black. Also, I'm just looking here at some of the art. The art is
Yeah.
very, very,
Oh
very
yeah,
good.
something we didn't even mention, but whenever the beholder of the Radiant talks to the robot that's that they have access to, the art goes like insanely crazy.
Yeah,
It's
and I'm
so
even
good.
just looking at like issue 5 when he's that when he's like the Radiant robot guy is like, yo, let's freaking go, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a cool splash page of him like
Yeah,
going Mighty Morphin, and then he runs into Radiant Red, and just like
yeah,
the very kind of like sharp streamlined lines, and like there's all these like splattering kind of effects to like there's some snow here and just these sci-fi colors that are great and radiant.
mm-hmm. I also I need to mention, because with that, I'll quote the Twitter friend who got me into Massiveverse stuff when just talking about issue 5, and as she described it, and I think you're in for one of the best, most emotionally charged fight scenes ever. That's how I feel.
Yeah, it's it's pretty. Ooh.
Yeah, it's just like obviously like um Marshall, now Radiant Black, viewing Radiant Red as guilty for what Nathan not being the healthiest right now. Uh,
Because also Radiant Red was
yeah, they were in a
fighting him,
fight.
and that's how Nathan got into a
Hurt.
little coma.
Yeah, and so Marshall as Radiant Black confronts Radiant Red, and like obviously like visually, it's very cool. They're glowing and stuff, but like just knowing on an emotional level, like what Marshall's mindset is, like he pretty much he views Radiant Red as the person who just killed his best friend,
Yeah,
and they just the fight, like every single hit, it's like it's mind blowing, it's beautiful to look at, but like in a kind of I don't intense way of just like
mhm.
it's pretty but it hurts.
uh, and like I don't know like how much like Kyle Higgins and the whole creative team behind Massverse stuff and starting here with Radiant Black, like how much stuff they had planned, but either if they had stuff planned, they do a great job of like setting it up, or if they didn't have plans, like they had a good job of kind of leaving some things up to mystery and and
Yeah.
being able to expand upon them later, mainly with Radiant Red, because we'll come back towards the end of the 5th issue, but the issue right after this is just all about her. Yeah, it's a woman, and that one might actually be my favorite issue,
Yeah.
to be frank.
They definitely, yeah, it might be mine. Just those, they I love every arc. They just kind of have an issue about one of the other Radiants,
Yeah,
right, just in between arcs, and I love it. So you'll get these 5 initial issues, and then you get an issue all about Radiant Red, not during what we're seeing now, but kind of a flashback of the person's life, even like with the other colors that we get issues about person's life, and then how they came across the Radiant, their own Radiant, and like what motivates them and stuff. It's also, like you mentioned, Radiant Red is a girl, and what's cool about that is you don't really notice because her build is very muscular, and that's because she has a very cool power of just like absorbing matter. So like
she gets like armor and stuff.
Yeah, she'll grab a truck and the truck will just dissolve, and she'll suddenly have the bulk of a truck like in her suit, and it's very nice.
Yeah, I just like visually, that's she's like the coolest of the Radiants, I think.
Like even with the fight with Radiant Black here, there's a part where they're just they're they're on ice, and just like she's absorbing all the matter and stuff, and she comes out just real big, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And then the Radiants also, when they interact with each other, they like kind of unlock abilities. So then Radiant Black unlocks cape mode, and he just has a real cool looking cape.
Yeah.
It's fun to look at. I mess with it.
Mm-hmm. And and just like all for the Radiants, the black, red, and then get introduced at the end here to pink and yellow, are like very, as opposed to a fair bit of Power Rangers stuff I watched as a kid, outside of the Black Ranger being a black guy and the Pink Ranger being a girl. They don't do too much to make the characters interesting, at least in like the original Maymore stuff. But here, one, they also have, it's a nice and a diverse cast in terms of ethnicity and sexuality and whatnot. But just like obviously all their powers are different, and at least of what we've seen so far, of course, it's Radiant Black, and then we see Radiant Red's origin, and then Radiant Pink. There we haven't seen Radiant Yellow's yet fully. But I'm very interested to see that, if there is, because I like him a lot and he's cool.
Yeah. And I like that, like immediately, they kind of just show up, the other Radiants in the last couple issues, or couple pages, sorry, of issue 5, right before we get to issue 6. It's all about Radiant Red, and I love that like instantly you just get an immediate sense of everyone, like what's going to be the dynamic of this group. And it's like, oh, Radiant Black hates Radiant Red because he thinks that she caused the death of his friend, or at least caused his friend to be, in a big hurted state. And then and then Radiant Yellow and Radiant Pink come through, and they seem to be cool with each other, and it seems to be like I don't know, maybe an almost like mentor-mentee relationship. Radiant Yellow is also just visibly kind of an old guy.
Yeah, middle-aged.
Yeah, and Radiant Pink, Radiant Red, Radiant Black, they're all like young adults. Then at the end of the issue, very cool guy shows up.
That's his name.
Yeah.
This is, what's up, guys? I'm very cool guy, and he's got like a hood, and he's got digital energy hexagon
Yeah.
purple swords, and he's got a seat belt red thing going
Yeah.
across his chest.
He's got cool word bubbles. They're like really
Yeah,
glitchy.
they're glitchy. I think he's got some guns here, knives or something. I don't even know. Just remembering what he does in fights. I just remember, ooh, cool, 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 cool.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
And then we get to the Radiant Red issue, the number 6.
Yeah, which is a different. It's still Kyle Higgins, right?
Yeah.
But it's a different
A different art
artist.
team.
Yeah, different art team.
And also there was a co-writer, Cherish Chen.
Oh, okay. Which makes sense, seeing as Kyle Higgins is a white guy. So, and this is a story about a Asian woman. So, good to have that diversity. Cool cover, by the way.
Yeah.
And look at this really for the red money flowing out of these duffel bags.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah, this issue, it starts out. She's just before she got the radiant power, obviously having family dinner, and she's with her husband or soon to be husband or whatever, and they seem happy and in love and a good couple that's definitely in a good financial state, and it isn't kind of bogging down their relationship and anything like that at first.
Then you get a couple pages in, and it's almost the exact opposite of how
It's
they
not.
appear with
It's that.
the
It's the
family.
opposite of all what I was saying. It was a
Yeah.
trick. I'm a prankster.
They pulled a sticky on you. Then it turns out that Radiant Red, or her real name, Satomi, and the man that she's with are in very huge money troubles.
Mostly the guy's
And
fault.
yeah, well, yeah, it
Entirely.
is. Yeah,
He's
it
like
is.
gambling it all
It is.
away.
Yeah, and he keeps trying to comfort Satomi and tell her that he's got it under control when he very obviously doesn't. And
Sort
she
of
brings up,
Walter White mentality to him.
and she brings up, she's like, listen, I can help with my money. He's like, no, listen, I got it covered. Okay?
He doesn't.
And then she she goes outside. She sees all the radiance flying in, and one just kind of just smacks into her, directly flies
Yeah.
into her, and she hits it, and she morphs. Just Satomi just trying to be good, trying to save her and save her. I mean, I guess not just trying to be good. She's also just trying to save herself because she's with this guy, but just trying to fix the situation. She goes to the bank and she tries to deal with her money and stuff and see what she can do to help the situation that she's in. And then it turns out that the guy she's with already went into her account because he forged her signature and
Yeah,
took her
for
money.
her college fund for education.
Yeah.
Well, they talk it out. He still kind of
Yeah.
manipulates her
He
and being
kind
like,
of blames her for all of this.
yeah, and it's like, "Oh, fix it, please. Don't give up on me."
Oh, his name's Owen, by the way.
Oh yeah, Owen. Then she robs a bank.
Yeah. Because I mean, I know
What are you gonna do?
stealing bad, but can you blame her? Can you
It's a
blame her?
bank. It's who cares?
What are you gonna do?
It's
Arrest
just
her?
laying there. It's sitting there.
Yeah. I don't see a "don't steal" sign.
They should put one up if they don't want me to steal. They want her to steal, not me.
Yeah.
And then she got the money, and that's the end of that issue. And then
Yeah.
the very added interesting thing about it is it somewhat parallels what Nathan was writing about, his story, which I haven't fully grasped.
I didn't think about that at all.
No,
No.
I was, because like then right when she goes to the bank, I was like, wait,
No, yeah,
is this?
you're absolutely right. I just did not
Yeah,
think of that because I also just um yeah, that's crazy because I thought about more just the parallels of her and just Nathan as a character because his whole thing, the first page of the entire Radiant Black comic, the first page of issue 1 of Radiant Black is his phone, and it's Nathan's
his
screen, and it's
bank
negative.
account,
Yeah, it's bank account, and it's negative
$38,000.
money. Yeah, and yeah, so she kind of parallels him in that way of just like, well, he needs money, but he's still just only using the Radiant to really just stop her from robbing banks. And
Yeah,
she's in a very similar situation, not because of the reasoning of being in debt, but just the fact of being in debt. So she kind of does the opposite and goes and robs the banks.
yeah. So it's just very, I don't. It's one of those cases that I'm gonna bring up a lot of. I don't fully understand its meaning, or what it's trying to say, but it's something, and it seems cool, so I'm gonna go ahead and trust the writers and assume that they're cooking. So,
Yep.
and like especially the fact, I mean, like there's those parallels with him writing about it, but then there's also
Uh-huh.
like the fact that like Nathan kind of put himself in his financial situation with just
Yeah.
trying to be a writer and just not, you know, succeeding
Succeed.
really. While Satomi, it her partner is just completely screwing her over in every
Yeah.
sense, and this is not her fault at all. And then there's the extra thing of like, well, why are they paralleled?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and especially we got this issue. Maybe if we got like before, like as issue 3, like when Nathan was still Radiant Black. But like, no, this is after the fact now that Marshall is. And there's no real parallels between her and Marshall. So I don't know. But it's G dang interesting.
Yeah. I love to like I mentioned earlier, between every arc they throw in an issue about one of the other colors. And well, it's always cool and great. A lot of the other times, it really does feel just like in between arc. It's like, hey, this is in between arcs. Let's show you the other people. This issue 5 ends with all the colors coming in and there being the first real super villain. And then you get to
Yeah.
issue number 6, and it's like, oh hey, you remember that guy that Nathan as Radiant Black was constantly trying to stop? Well, maybe she's not a guy and she's not all that bad and she's in a horrible situation very similar to the guy you were just reading about, and she just went after fixing it in a different way.
And he also happened to kind of be writing about her
Yeah.
in his fictional short story.
Then after issue 6, we get a couple fun team up issues with just all the different radiants, and I'm
Yeah.
loving it.
They fight, yeah, right? The issue after continues off what issue 5 was, of this crazy dude
Yeah.
being crazy and teleporting around with his little digital hexagon swords and bombs and
Yeah, they're
stuff.
like sending shock waves through the ground and stuff.
Yeah.
Just such a visually cool. He's one of those cases where like obviously I'd love to narratively know more about him, but like he's so cool that like you don't even need to
Yeah.
give me a character. Like if his character is just being
Just be
cool, that's
cool.
fine.
I like General Grievous
Yeah.
or
Or
Angor Rot from Troll Hunters. Good show. Watch that.
yeah.
I'm not saying that to you, Tristan, because we watched that already
Yeah.
together.
But yeah, just great fight scenes. Just art isn't, just art from every side is great. The penciling is great. The coloring is great. The panel layouts are it's all great. No complaints
Ooh,
here.
baby, it's a triple.
It's all compelling.
We do see Pink's power, which is teleportation.
Yeah, she can just kind of form portals. Now, they doing too many in like such a quick succession, or especially in great distances, kind of drain her out, and they become less and less reliable.
Yeah.
They try to teleport away from this new bad guy, and they Pink teleports them to Tokyo.
Yeah.
They were in America before, so bit of a jump.
Well, then there's a further jump later when they're being
Yeah.
a really cool sequence where they're all in the sky, and then the dude catches up. So then she has to put portals between all three of them. She carries right here,
Yeah.
and then ends up portaling her and Marshall into what seems like deep outer space in the middle
Yeah.
of a alien
Robo
robot war
war.
in
Yeah.
space, and it looks really cool.
Yeah. And
Also the word bubbles here again are,
yep.
pink for pink, blue for black. He's mainly blue, but
Yeah.
I think they make a joke about that earlier, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, then the war, it starts to get closer and closer to them, and they're catching attention of the participants of the war, and it's a very tense sequence of them getting close, and then they teleport out of there. And good on you, Pink. And while trying to escape from the big jump aroundy villain, Pink actually, while teleporting her and Marshall to space, and then Russia teleports Yellow and Red to the woods somewhere.
I think it's still because is that Mount Fuji in Japan?
You know I don't know my mountains.
I do. I think that's Mount Fuji. Because, I mean, like, they're already in Japan. Then Marshall and what's her name even?
Eva?
Pink. Eva. Oh, Pink and Black start forming a little bond.
Yeah.
Kinda. She does yell at him at some point, but
I yell at you sometimes, and I don't think you're that bad.
But then I get scared and cry.
And then we talk about comics.
But then I'm like, I want to open up this dialogue of like our
So I
emotions.
really like Radiant Pink and Radiant Black's relationship. I think it's just them being cute, then just kind of being able to talk about like, oh man, we we got these powers. Pink even after teleporting them, to wherever her and Wendell originally were, to Marshall, then to Tokyo, and then to space, and then to Russia. She throws up, and I'm feeling for you, Eva. Feeling for you.
Then crazy cool. There's just this one panel in particular that has the coolest lettering when coming back to yellow and red. Bad guy starts punching them, and then he puts like some device onto yellow, and then he gets all glitchy, and the word bubble is cuckoo.
Yep. And then he stabs Red, like just completely knife through her.
Yeah.
With this, well, not knife, sword. But
Katana.
then with yeah. But with absorbing more, materials that actually just like repairs her, which is really cool. I like that. I liked it a lot. She's cool. I also, something I forgot to mentioned earlier, but it's very visible here and just about any scene. Is it like the visors they have on? Like it, there's so much emotion in just their
Oh
eyes
yeah,
showing up, and
I wasn't
it's so
even.
great.
I remember thinking, oh, I gotta bring this up, but yeah, like, because like each of them have slightly. I mean, yellow's he's just got like one straight yellow line across his mask. Black he's just got pretty normal. Pink's got more like bigger, vibrant, and then red kind of has about the same as black, I think. Maybe like a
Yeah,
little more tilted, but like still, yeah, just like they really bring out a lot of emotion. Like even yellow, like literally just a line. Like that's not eyes. It's just a line.
yeah.
And
Like
like
there's I don't want to get too specific because this is an audio podcast, but at one point there's even you can tell that he's raising an eyebrow because half of the line in his
yeah,
visor is bigger than the other half.
yeah,
And I love that, just expressing emotion through these literal just big helmets, but like
yeah,
it's just yeah
yeah. Because like when people talk about like some like Spider-Man or Mandalorian, it's like there's at least with like acting with a mask on, and especially that, and that's not comics. It's just but
yeah,
like there's at least like a bit of a recognizable face. These are just completely black helmets, and then especially with
yeah,
Yale, it's just a line.
yeah, but they
um,
still it's perfectly illustrated.
you know, and then we
And
kind of see his powers, Yellow's powers, for a sec, and he's got it. Kind of looks like he's got like sort of like I don't even know. It's like he's projecting a bunch of kind of like transparent versions of himself over the place. I don't know if it's supposed to be some sort of. I don't remember if we see it again later. I'm sure we do. But if it's just like to kind of like distract or whatever, but it looks kind of cool here, and though we don't fully see its capabilities yet.
yeah, we know they like to take their time in cooking,
Yeah,
so sure we'll see it later. Get full explanation. It's not his book. Makes sense.
yeah. And then they all come back together. Pink and Black teleport back to them, and then cool dude saying some more cryptic stuff. I mean, this guy we know nothing about. All of the robot god talking about existence and all this stuff. We don't know anything. We don't understand
Yeah,
anything at this point, and still not
yeah,
fully later. But you know, we'll see. Um. Anyways, giant hand comes out of Marshall,
yeah.
his chest.
Just kind of swallows up the big bad guy.
Yeah.
And also, I think at this point we know that his name is just one. Like it's like
Oh, okay.
James Bond style 007, but it's 001. It's just
Hmm.
he's just one.
Yeah, and I guess we also. Oh yeah, yellow does another little energy blast towards.
Yeah,
Uh, just say their names, not the colors.
yeah,
Uh, Wendell shoots a little energy blast at Marshall because he's getting all mad at Red. So I guess so far we only just seen he has like energy blasts and something else.
yeah.
Anyways, they all make up and they'll try to be a team.
And then they agree that like we can't just rush to kill each other, and we there's since Marshall's hand from his chest just kind of swallowed up one. They're like, I mean, I guess the threat's gone. Back to our normal lives.
Yeah. All right.
And then
And we see
there's
some
a bit of a tease.
dudes doing weird, glitchy space stuff in
Yep.
somewhere out in probably Kansas or something.
I also, oh yeah, and this is something. Well, I haven't even mentioned it to you because we haven't talked about these. But actually, if you get you're gonna think it's cool, Shay. If you get the
We'll see.
paperbacks for the Radiant Black books and probably the other, just Radiant books, they give you a codex for a mysterious, like, glitchy language that pops up sometimes in the book.
Right.
And so, like, they tell you what each symbol means, like which letter it is. I have not decoded it because that's a lot of
Because that's
that's
for
a,
nerds.
yeah. I think I'm like a second read through or something, definitely. But first, I'm not gonna be hopping backwards. It's at the very end of the book, so like
Right.
you find it, you're like, oh well, I read everything, and then
Also,
yeah.
I just noticed that for the letters page, it's called blackmail. That's fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Silly.
Then stuff gets crazier
Yeah,
because this next issue is showing just more because the past couple it was it's been like 4 issues. It was Marshall picked up the power, then he went to
yeah,
Vought Red, and then ran to the other people.
yeah.
Next issue was just all about Red, and the next 2 issues were just them being chased around by the bad guy, essentially.
Mhm.
So now he's actually like back and able to,
Yeah,
process that
yeah.
he
Decompress.
took the power and stuff, and we just see his life waking up, showering, smoking up, and very
Yeah, I
funny.
do.
What are you gonna say about it? Or,
Oh, but I was gonna say I like that we see him smoke blunts. They don't really
yeah,
outright say it, but look at it. He's smoking a
that's a joint right there.
yeah.
I think he mentioned earlier when we see him at his job, like movie rental place or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and being like, "Hey, it is legal here now."
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to see, with superheroes though, it's just complete anti-drug. It's fun to see someone dabble.
Let's just
But
smoke
yeah,
right below.
as the hilarious confrontations he has with this group of high schoolers.
Yeah, I feel like they're even like middle schoolers with their where he's just on his front porch step with his joint and cereal, and the kids are just like, "Yo, what's up? When are you gonna get a life, dude?" And he's just like, as a full adult, just like hitting back with like "Yo, mama" jokes to them.
Yeah.
Just
And it's like, just to say some of the lines, like one of the kids is talking about Marshall's mom, and they go, "Oh, did she pour those little Cheerios, Marshall?" And he goes, "Nah, I poured them from the box your mom brought here. Here, have some."
the one girl says "F you, Marshall," and he's just getting so mad. Also, I like or his boss is watching like uh podcast dudes,
Uh-huh.
very meta. For us.
Oh, oh wait, what's the name of
Oh
their podcast? We should have named it that
shoot!
for the two massive first episodes that we'll do.
I feel like Kyle Higgins and co definitely have consumed their fair amount of these kinds of podcasts because it feels pretty accurate to
Yeah.
just. But like also they have to talk about and grapple like with that there actually now is some real superheroes in
Yeah.
this setting that's like essentially just our world as well, where there is superhero content, but now there also are actually real.
Yeah.
I think they do a pretty funny job of portraying what podcasts like that would talk about it.
Yeah. I really enjoy that. And then with this issue, we're seeing like different days of Marshall's life, and like he closes it off with just checking on Nathan. His Nathan's parents are happy to see Marshall there. Marshall's just trying to visit Nathan whenever he can. And then we get to day 4, and it's a lot of the same thing. Takes a shower, pours some cereal, lights up a blunt, yells at a bunch of school children, goes to see Nathan in the hospital. And that was day 4, and then it's day 8. He's trying to fix his reputation because Circle Guy News, the podcast that Shay was just talking about, like, one of the guys on there really doesn't like him, and Marshall doesn't like the public perception, just hating him. So he's talking with some police, just trying to fix that.
And then he tries, day 16, he tries making like some with his gravity. I don't even know what he's doing here, but
it's
he
in the
makes
past.
like
He's leaving somehow.
Yeah, his like trail, as he's flying. Just a sign that says like, "I'm sorry, but I did stop the cosmic guy who was threatening our entire world, which you didn't even know about. You're welcome." On the highway, like right over the overpass, and just making up people crash. It's like that episode of iCarly. You remember that one?
Yeah,
with Spencer and the Cuttlefish concert. Gonna make a lot of iCarly references. But yeah, and I think the days each time are doubling.
Yeah, they definitely are.
And then Satomi comes to see him.
Yeah,
to get lunch and talk things out. Maybe to, since there's a bit of animosity there.
Yes, specifically, mainly towards Marshall. Or, I mean, from Marshall. Sorry.
Yeah. At this point, this is when it starts getting sad.
Yeah.
Because then Marshall to Satomi, doesn't really accept her apology. And he's like, Pai says like, "Oh, well then why don't you come see Nathan, the guy you put into a coma?" And then it's only 2 panels of Marshall going, "This is Nathan," and Satomi looking at him in the coma and just saying, "Hey Nathan, it's nice to meet you," crying.
Yeah.
It's just
goddamn.
Yeah, it just shows like Satomi at this point is my favorite character, I'd say. Just especially with Dish 6 being my favorite, and just a very interesting, like, she's put into a bad situation. She got these powers. She was like, all right, I gotta get out of my financial situation. So she goes to rob a bank. And then also eventually gets into a fight with Nathan as Radiant Black, and then puts him into a coma. It's like all these circumstances where she absolutely not, like, at her core, a bad person, but she's just put in these circumstances and is trying to grapple with them and stuff.
Yeah.
That's so sad. And then they do a fun thing with showing the day number. They go minus 6,547 days, which, let me see how many days that is. Hold on.
That's a lot.
That is just under 18 years.
Oh my god! Whoa. Okay.
So then that means they're like 30. Because here it's past them being like middle school, like, age seeming.
Yeah.
Just talking about nerdy nerd stuff, and just showing more of their actual lifelong bond and friendship. They also constantly reference Cowl, which was a book Kyle Higgins did back in 2014, which is then, I guess, retroactively made, like, actually, I don't know if they say like is retroactively made canon to this, but I don't know if they just mean like, oh, it's an in-universe,
it's an
fictional property
movie thing, I think.
Okay, I didn't know if they made it into like, oh, it actually is real. Have not read those.
Yeah,
we'll get to them probably at some point.
We'll read them. We'll definitely read them. It's just I'm hooked on Radiant Black. You can't pry me or my hands off of those books.
Not those bad boys.
Then we get to day 65, and I really like this because with the alien tech is shown to be discovered at the end of the last issue, now people are just kind of gaining access to some alien
Yeah.
tech. So, Radiant Black runs into one of his new villains called Doppler, who just sound wave powers, which he comes across several times.
Yeah. And then at this point, time is moving pretty fast, cut
Yeah.
to day 90. Marshall's telling the middle schoolers that their parents resent them. And he's fighting some more guys. Cut to 152, fighting some more guys. Fight a guy named Shift. 160. He goes back to see Nathan and his ex-friend is there. What's her name? JJ. And just talking to her. And at this point, and just later, I'll say I assume by the end that they didn't do it. Maybe they'll do it later. I was 100% expecting him to be like he has actual, or it's the end of the next issue. I thought he was gonna say he has like romantic feelings towards Nathan. Actually, that's what I was thinking.
Me too.
Maybe they'll still do that. Then 175, he's talking to the podcast dudes.
Yeah. He's got a bottle in his hand, seems to maybe be a little drunk.
Yeah.
He definitely
At a bowling alley. And he's got like a Hawaiian shirt, but he's got the mask on as to not reveal his identity to the podcast dudes. And he just strikes a deal with them. Essentially like a sponsor deal.
Yeah.
Be like, don't talk bad about me. And then just more and more like they just though it's jumping, and this is again like another thing of just more like I did not expect them, of course, to have Marshall be Radiant Black, but now it's like jumping through time so much, and it's jumping to over like a year eventually.
He's in his sleep, he's dreaming about Nathan being there. And then at a certain point, you're so used to the schedule that then you're seeing the kids outside Marshall's house on day 40, and he's not even there now. And they show him, and he's just, I think he's just at his job. It looks like, and he's just past looking almost passed out, bottles everywhere, pizza all over him and on the floor, and he's just a mess.
Yeah, because right before that, day before, Nathan's mom was saying that that it's time. The way with the one of just him not being on his doorstep with the kids walking by is like such a, the way that they take this before just being like humorous, but also showing his character just being kind of a wash up, and like by just spending his morning insulting children. They're insulting him too, so I get fair game. But then to just show that he's so down in the dumps because his friend's gonna die, that he's not even there, and he's just drunk at his job, watching Cowl like they did together as kids. Just a page, no dialogue, just them walking together of where they were before, the same scenery as when we were showed of when they were kids together. Just so depressing.
Yeah. Then he shows up finally at the hospital where they're about to pull the plug on Nathan, and everyone's just very, very sad outside. And he's there watching it happen, and he starts yelling at them to not pull the plug and to not do it. And Nathan's mom really doesn't like that.
Clearly, that makes sense.
Yeah, she's accepted it. They're pulling the plug on her son, and then his best friend walks in just screaming about to stop and that he has a way to save him. And then Marshall runs out of the room and starts screaming to the sky. And he's saying he's alive, isn't he? Like, talk to me. And he's trying to talk to the robot that he has access to now, is Radiant Black. And
Yeah.
he goes back onto the train track where they both discovered the Radiant, and he's yelling to the robot that's refusing to respond that he's not going to get off the train tracks until he does get a response, because he believes that the robot can save Nathan. And right at the end, it does respond, and it tells him that there's a way they can save him and that he will not succeed. And
Yeah.
he agrees to do it anyways, and he just teleports into his black hole right before the train hits him.
Yeah. And so like at this point, and because like before, one of the doctors says to one of the other doctors, like, Elizabeth, can you hand me the scissors? It's the other doctor's name. And I guess Elizabeth is the name of a
Oh
character
yeah,
in
in Nathan's story.
Nathan's, his little novel, short story, or whatever. And so he's like, oh, that's a sign or something. And so, like, this point, and then carrying on to even next issue, my overall feelings are like, I don't fully, and I know it's supposed to be confusing. One, we've already seen, like, how Nathan's story is kind of meta to what's actually happening with its parallels to Radiant Red.
Yeah.
And now there's the parallels to this. So I can only assume like there's more to it. My prediction at this point,
Mm-hmm.
which I won't try to make too many prediction where that's kind of lame, but like what I'm assuming is gonna be kind of the thing with the themes is like they wouldn't just like make Nathan seem like the main character, have him be Radiant Black, and he goes in a coma, and Marshall's the main character now, and just be like, oh, Nate, just as like a kind of cheap like subversion trick and nothing else. It seems like, and next issue kind of delves into it, seems like Nathan, whether it's a destiny thing or because he already had touched the Radiant Black Hole thing, but like has some sort of like other power or effect in him with his stories, with his writing, or something along those lines. I don't, but like it's here twice already that his writing is paralleling to the actual real world.
Yeah.
So like that's has to be something. But with the first two issues of Supermassive, we have not seen that, unless I'm misremembering something in like 10 or what the next issue. So that is very interesting and cool.
Next issue, immediately with the first page, amazing. The art is crazy,
Yeah,
literally breaking borders. It's just
yeah,
it's great and it's wonderful. Pretty much just the entire issue is based all within um the area where Nathan is Radiant Black and now Marshall is Radiant Black have been when talking to the robot that they now have access to as Radiant people. And it's just it's beautiful and it's great. Me and Shay love when comics just give us crazy colors that are just fun to look at, and
just
it's
visuals in general.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's like
wacky.
my favorite thing about comics is them being comics and actually taking advantage of
Yeah,
their medium, where it's not just a book with visual aids. It's using visual storytelling and also unconventional ways to
hmm
push the themes and narratives and stuff. And like this is a clear cut example of that with literally the first page. He crashes through this other dimensional place through the comic border. it's fine because, like, for at least most of it, you have no idea what's actually happening. At least for
Yeah.
me. Um,
Yeah, I think that's the point because Marshall kind of just over and over says he doesn't really know what's happening, nor does he really care. He just wants the outcome of Nathan making it out of his coma alive.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't even fully think of that. I mean, I think when I was reading this, I was maybe like, I think maybe I was trying too hard to try to wrap my head around it, and then kind of ignoring the fact that Marshall was not trying
Mm-hmm.
to. So that's my B as a reader. Um, but that makes a lot more sense. Seeing it's just a great way of showing like he does, like, along with just already learning, originally what we see before he got the radiant powers. What we saw, he was just kind of comedic relief friend character that also thought the powers were really cool and that Nathan should, do more to do with it. And it seems like that's most of what he cared about and doesn't actually, he's a friend, but it's that we hadn't shown his compassion towards Nathan until
Yeah.
now. And then at this point, he does not care about the power whatsoever. He
Uh-huh.
simply wants his friend back
Yeah.
and just going through this breezy journey that doesn't visually and what these bot things are telling him make no sense
I mean, he
within
even
the bounds of reality.
even after just teleported and being teleported around and stuff, he even comes across number one from the a few issues
Mhm.
ago, just the bad guy with all the cool teleporting stuff. And this he's just kind of he's helping Radiant Black Marshall because he's just kind of preying upon like the fact that Marshall seems likely to die during this journey to get to
Mhm.
wherever it is that will bring Nathan back. So he's helping him just so he can kind of rush his death and then get the radiant quicker
Yeah.
because he just wants to protect it from according to him, but he
Yeah.
doesn't actually want to sync with it.
And just, if you don't care to read all of this or care about comic books at all, if if you just live under a rock and do nothing, just look at some of the pages at least. Just look at some
Yeah,
of them.
yeah, especially issue 10.
Yeah,
Like,
mainly I mean, like, all of it, but like mainly.
well, yeah, all of it. But if there's one issue you just gotta look
Yeah,
at
just like
to maybe even get you into reading it, this one.
pretty
It's
vibrant colors with crazy.
yep.
It's at some one point. I don't have a physical version of this. I'm just reading it digitally. Tristan has the physical version, but I really wish I did, because especially this 1 2 page spread, that it goes. They're like walking in this weird circle
Yeah.
path that goes like upside down and stuff. So the dialogue boxes, the word bubbles go upside down and stuff. So it's kind of a hassle read digitally because I gotta tilt my head instead of being able to just turn the book. Nonetheless, it is extremely cool, and I love any time a comic book has
Yeah.
the art, the words go upside down. It's an easy trick to make me happy.
And then after just some more weird, crazy stuff in here that is just so obviously like purposefully confusing. Um, Marshall eventually he's teleported again and again, and he's just kind of like fighting against all the stuff that's being set up for him. He doesn't really care about taking the apparent right path, and he's just doing whatever he feels is necessary to come in contact to whatever seems to be to have a possibility of bringing Nathan back. And then something that's been said again and again is that there is only truth in existence, which seems to be where the radiants are when they come into contact with the little robot guys. Yeah. And it keeps asking Marshall, why are you here? There's only truth in existence. And they're asking over and over, and he's ignoring it. And he's telling them, he's like, well, I just want to save my friend. But it doesn't believe that it's just that. And the art just gets crazier and crazier as he opens up more and more to the possibility of there being another answer than just I want to save my friend.
Yeah, I know we keep saying it, but there's in every, can't talk about it really, but at every single inch of the pages here are just crazy, and all the stuff they do with the words, with the colors, with the art, it's all insane. But to the core of the narrative, that eventually fully decodes and says, why are you here? There's only truth in existence. Why are you here? Just the same thing said again. Art, my God, look at that. You can't look at it, but to try to look at it, if you can peer through the audio waves and just over and over, why are you here? He's answering, why are you afraid? And eventually, just as the omnipotent voice keeps, asking him these things and trying to get to the truth, more and more, Marshall just breaks down, getting closer and closer to truth. It's just being more, instead of just saying, I'm here to save my friend, he says, I care about him, love him. And the things like, you're lying though. And he's like, he deserves this, not me. And just, Marshall saying that Nathan has purpose and is actually doing things with his life, trying to be a writer, even though he's not necessarily seeing, but he's trying at least.
Yeah.
While Marshall feels like he's not himself succeeding, and just more and more it's breaking down, and just him just breaking down and getting to the actual truth and saying that, kind of angrily in a moment goes, he hates him, hates Nathan, but he's like, no, I don't hate him, but he hates that Nathan shows something that he wants to be.
Yeah.
And then since he's not that, it brings just his own self pity and hatred, and just the most beautiful fashion. And like throughout all this issue, I think like not only did they obviously just have a billion creative and cool ideas for the visuals that they want to just really go crazy at, but like they really actually tie it into having a even more narrative purpose outside of just, he's in this crazy other dimension, but like that even though all this incomprehensible stuff is happening to him, like the core of it is really just that at first, he's like, I just want my friend back, but then really breaking down to, because at this point when he's breaking down here, it's very minimalist. It's just kind of yellow line work with and just black backgrounds for everything, when it's actually getting down to the meat and bones of what he's actually thinking.
Yeah. And then a vision of Nathan comes up, and they're both kind of confused on how it works.
Yeah.
But Marshall, after having his visions and his dreams and stuff last issue, just kind of asks, it's like, is it really you? And it says sort of, yeah. And then it's him, but he's also just part of existence. And they don't really get it. And you don't really need to. There's a version of Nathan here. And he gives Marshall a beautiful pep talk about just like, hey, you think you suck, you think you don't do anything, you don't suck, and you do everything. You're great and you're cool, and you shouldn't give up. And then I love because then Marshall, I love it because Marshall says, how could you possibly know that? And Nathan says, because there's only truth in existence.
It's
Oh
full
baby.
circle.
And then they have a nice little hug.
And then they fly out of there with each panel just representing them, each different little art style. That the further he went down into this place,
Yep.
and they're escaping, crying with each other. It's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Then next issue, number 11, we got a little team up.
Oh,
We got a little visit from Pink. Oh, and of course, last issue was colored by Igor Monti. Igor Monti is the GOAT.
what's he done?
This.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought. Oh, okay. You were saying like, and of course the colorist was. I thought you meant, and of
No.
course the colorist is
No,
famous.
I mean just like out of the couple different ones there are for the Massive Verse books, Igor
Right.
Monti is
Oh, okay,
insane.
got it. Great album too, Igor. Tyler Creator. You made my earthquake. You made my earthquake. Okay. Marshall crashes through a portal.
Yeah, lands in his house. Mail everywhere. So much mail. You would never want to have to unpack this much mail all at
Me,
once.
when I see boys only school. So clearly time has passed, but he rushes towards the hospital, see if Nathan's alive. He is. He's in physical therapy.
Yeah, and he's doing good.
Yeah. It
And
has
then
been 6 weeks though.
yeah, Marshall's like, wow, they got you up real quick, and Nathan's like, no, not really.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out he just disappeared into his little existence journey for a month and a half.
And I love there's a panel just showing him like on his phone and it's showing all these like news headlines of just like Oscar buzz for Jaleel White in biopic. School blames TikTok's lava challenge for something death. It's kind of blocked. Henry Kissinger dead. Still has not happened. Somehow, man is almost 100. Oh yeah, of course. This is fun. This was like I don't even remember when that, but like it says why Taylor Swift's "For Pete's Sake" is the breakup record we need right now. There's not one that shows that Taylor Swift and Pete Davidson were dating because
Caught canoodling.
Because like Pete Davidson been making the rounds, and I think this is even. I mean, he's just been on a constant spree of
On an
dating,
onslaught.
an onslaught of dating the most rich and famous and beautiful women in the Zag Dice standards.
Yeah. And I like to they even hint towards some stuff we'll see later that they show Doppler. It's like Sound and Fury News Now. Suspect caught after bank robbery, and they show some of that a little picture of her, and I think that's fun. And then he goes back to talking with his buddy, and Nathan's just kind of there's not even real time to have a real emotional conversation. It's just catching up, and Marshall's just trying to explain like red's maybe not as awful as we thought. Pink is cool, and he doesn't really like yellow. And then Nathan's letting Marshall know, but everybody hates him because he disappeared for 6 weeks. So Nathan's parents show up, and there is so much tension, and then they leave.
I mean, if I was
I
Nathan's
get it.
parents, I would probably punch Marshall.
Yeah, and I mean, not even forget the 6 weeks, just like the initial thing alone of they're
No,
about to pull
yeah,
the plug, and he's like starts screaming, "No, don't do it!" and then runs out of the room, and then he disappears for 6 weeks
disappears.
after also almost every day for the past like almost year visiting Nathan, just disappears, and he's
Yeah,
gone, and he's finally okay now. And it's like that's yeah, it
yeah.
makes complete sense.
We also see Marshall and Eva on a little kind of date.
Yeah. One thing I will say though, that I don't wait. I gotta check something. Hold on. Okay, this issue is not colored by Igor Monti. That explains why Eva is a little lighter than I'd like.
Yeah,
I don't really. She was colored a little bit darker before.
yeah.
A little light here.
Is she supposed to be Afro Latina or just Latina?
Not not sure. I just know she was darker before.
Yeah. We see that she's a Twitch streamer.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love to see
Yeah.
it.
And she's just doing some Twitch streams as fine by. And it's a risky move in any media to have some sort of live stream Twitch, YouTube chat show up, because he's like, okay, let's see, is this gonna be the indicator if this person is actually like up to speed and understands
Yeah.
the lingo. Um, this looks about right.
Yeah.
There'd be
I also
yeah,
huh? I like that the bad guys are just like they're just like evil dude perfect. It's like
yeah.
dude perfect with flamethrowers and like they're letting people rent the alien technology that they've discovered.
So then they go and end up fighting Doppler with some cool art and
Oh
effects.
wait, I also I have one thing too that mentioned just because it's before that is that with Doppler too, and this isn't even something that that Radiant Black or Pink ever find out, but Doppler says that she has a condition and focused ultrasound therapy was the only thing that helped her, and her insurance stopped covering that, so she never thought
Uh,
that she'd be able to play instruments again. And you can see
right.
it that she kind of gets shaky sometimes. So like she's also just part of why she's doing this is just so she doesn't have to deal with this thing that stops her from doing the stuff that she loves. But yeah, then we do get a cool fight between her and the two Radiants in the issue, and it's fun, very visually compelling.
And then I like, yeah, they just kind of let her free.
Yeah,
Marshall just being like, well, I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. Just like, hey, do not do this again. And we're cool. Consider this a warning.
Yeah.
And then Pink is like, "What? Is that the is that the right thing to do?" And he's like, "This feels right." So
Mm.
that's nice. I like it. I like too that it's not even like, oh my god, I didn't even think about, but like this is 100% because he realized that Radiant Red doesn't suck. Like he
Oh
saw
yeah.
someone else robbing, and because he doesn't even learn about Doppler's condition, but he's just like, listen, Blast Girl had a reason for this type of stuff. I'm gonna assume you do. Change your life, do better, and we're good. And then we get to some more. Now Nathan's girlfriend doesn't. Well, I guess ex. They're not. They don't. We don't know if they're really officially back together. But Nathan's ex sees Marshall and does not like him. Understandably so.
And fair enough. And then Marshall just recommends Nathan the lady SoundCloud.
Yeah.
But then also, I guess it awakens the existence robot and says hi to Nathan again.
Yeah.
Um,
Hello.
the next issue is just an origin for Pink, and then the one after that is the Supermassive event. So as of right now, we do not
Yeah.
see the continuation really of this.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, next issue, like I said, Pink.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I don't even know if these are the people who end up writing the books, but I love that for these in between arc issues, there's always seems to be a co-writer.
Which again, good on Kyle as just a white dude
Yeah.
who's handling these diverse characters. I don't know if he's queer or not, but we see later that Eva is queer and also being a POC. So,
Yeah.
which I know he is not. I
Yeah.
can tell by the pictures he is
Once,
white.
once again, though, the colorist from the last issue is here, and these first couple of pages, Eva is really white,
Yeah,
and I guess some of it just has to be the lighting of her room because later on she is colored to be a little darker, but like,
yeah,
it's she was we saw her, she was fairly dark. Please stick with that.
yes.
But yeah, and then I love that she's playing Stray.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
And she's just
Yeah,
being like, "Yes, little cat supremacy,"
yeah, yeah.
and it's cute. I like her. She's like she's a cute person to watch. She's fun.
Hmm. We see her little routine. Also, fun little Easter egg here when we see this kind of two-page spread of her kind of routine of waking up early, working out, doing stream stuff, whatnot. The first panel shows her phone. Her lock screen is of some two like sort of fancy type looking characters kissing each other, and I believe that is art from those characters are from one of the for most of these Radiant Black issues. At the end, they added some other indie
Yeah, like
people's work to just kind of spread um, you know awareness of the indie scene, which is cool. And I believe this is art from one of those, which is
yeah, fun little thing. But yeah, we see just in this first couple of pages, but especially this 2-page spread, we really get Eva's vibe. It's like she works hard and she works a little too hard. She's very busy. She has a lot of things to do. Just like as a Twitch streamer, just maintaining all the things she has to maintain. Just like with brand deals and showing up like at red carpet events alongside her main thing, just streaming. And it does seem like she's kind of like overworking herself and
yeah,
doesn't plan on stopping because she feels like obligated to keep
yeah.
pushing out this content and just doing all this stuff.
Which is I mean we see like right first pages like as we see her say bye to stream and end stream. I guess
Yeah, she.
probably most streamers after streaming are like, oh
Yeah,
god, okay, thankfully.
that's gonna be
But
me after this podcast.
mm-hmm. But yeah, then she's gonna do a subathon, which is a Twitch stream thing where you keep streaming for an allotted amount of time,
Yeah,
max out the amount of time. She says here 12 hours, and there's a timer, and it gets extended anytime someone subscribes, essentially giving them money. And uh, so that's what that is. But then her cat breaks her mic. So
yeah,
she has to go to Best Buy and then sees Wendell working at Best Buy, my guy. He says he can't fix the mic till later, so then she's kind of taking some time for herself, goes visit girlfriend, but we still see like more and more just these little bubbles of looking at like what people like tweeting at her about the stream and stuff, and still constantly having this kind of anxiety about it. And as she's on a little lunch date with her girlfriend, she gets more of these messages, and her girlfriend like kind of gets mad about because like I
gay
need some more
queen.
time. Mm-hmm.
I also like to. There's actually some consistency in her fan base online because she mentions the possum wanter here.
Yeah.
On last issue, the possum wanter was someone she read like a tweet from that said where Doppler was.
Yeah.
Also, I love that her cat's name is Kevin McCaddister. That's adorable.
And they get in an argument over it. She kind of ways. Being extremely stressed, goes back to Best Buy, see Wendell, gets Mike fixed. Wendell, the goat he is, just trying to, help her out, and she kind of breaks down, actually lets out feelings of being exhausted and stuff. But basically, Wendell takes her to this like abandoned in construction building where Wendell found the radiant pink black hole. It's just waiting for somebody else to touch it, and she's the one, I guess. She touches it, accidentally jumps a bunch.
Then Eva just goes on a big teleportation journey. Woohoo!
Pew, 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 pew,
And
pew.
also, it turns out she's been doing that for 6 hours. So, wow.
But Wendell just tries helping her out, containing her powers. She portal jumps over to her girlfriend's house and it's like, "Hey, look, my suit." But that's essentially breaks up with her.
Yeah.
So then Eva goes to some cliffside, wherever. I guess then Wendell shows up, so I guess she isn't too far. Wendell is cool, and I like him.
He also he mentions that he can see the future. So
Right,
that kind of explains why he doesn't really have anything to do that's too crazy during the fight with everyone. I think even he might have been doing like a kind of like Infinity War Doctor Strange esque thing of like his head moving around and seeing the possibilities. But yeah, I guess he just also has blasting as kind of like a backup. I think it's kind of I don't know if they all have blasting, but even it kind of feels that way with Radiant Black, of just like he can fly and pick things up, but he also has blasting, and that doesn't really line up with those. But it's something he can do.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of the same here. Just like it's
I like backup. And I'll always for each of them you kind of think of little ways that their powers kind of relate to the character.
Yeah,
not
like
smart enough to exactly fully verbalize like with Red or Pink.
Well, I know with Pink, it's that she can be everywhere at once now.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I like the Yellow just because he's the old and wise one. He's got like a power that's not like it's a mental thing, which is seeing into the future. But they have a very nice talk. Wendell's comforting her and gives her some wisdom, and then also very sweet gives her the fixed mic.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, they're a very fun pair. Next up, not more Radiant Black. We're done talking about Radiant Black for today. We have the Supermassive event next.
Which Tristan told me before that it's called that because apparently supermassive black holes are a thing, which is a stupid name. I don't know what scientists came up with it, but just I guess they saw a really big black hole and called it supermassive and thought, okay, that's supermassive black hole. I'm gonna double check that because then I'm gonna sound.
I just did. Yeah, yeah. On the other end of the size spectrum are the giants known as supermassive black holes, which are millions, if not billions, of times as massive as the sun.
Call it like even just like mega black
Gargantuana.
holes. The fact that it's like super like that's such like
Yeah.
a childish. I don't know what child saying massive. I guess massive's kind of a British word. I feel like,
Mm, but I guess it ended
but
up in this being
super massive.
it ended up in this book having a fun name, so I guess it's
Yeah,
it's better than just like mega verse.
but
Yeah.
yeah, this event is a fun. It's nothing too crazy for.
Yeah.
We only see we don't see any other characters besides Radiant Black, Marshall. We see Nathan for a bit as well, but we don't see Pink, Red, or Yellow, do we?
No. I was honest. I
Yeah.
was surprised because like I just knew Supermassive was the event book, so I really thought it was just going to be like all them teaming up again. But it's
Yeah.
not. It's even I will say, um, it's talking about the future, but it's not even really a spoiler thing. But like the Inferno Girl Red miniseries, which I did read before I got now all of this, it's her origin. So like this is after that.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah. So then I wonder how it is for Rogue's son.
Yeah. This book introduces two new characters, Infernal Red and Rogue Sun, that then these were kind of backdoor
Pilot issues,
pilots,
whatever.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or to then spawn those spin-off titles. But uh not too much talk. I mean it's obviously long, but
Yeah.
essentially
It is long.
just Infernal Go Red is like transport to this dimension or universe,
Yeah, she's from another
and she's not
universe.
supposed to be here. And some big bad monster kind of is created. Are these the Dude Perfect dudes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the
So
Dude
one of
Perfect
them
dudes are messing around.
yeah, so and then one of them like I think kind of gets sucked into the big bad that they're all after. So
Yeah,
he's
they fuse.
kind of gone. But yeah, and then it even like it's a very self-contained issue even if it is longer than the your typical Massiverse comic or just comic in general. It's and even it feels even like a little less like big and huge than like some of the issues of Radiant Black when it was him in all the colors
Mm.
going after number one.
Yeah, its purpose is just uh to introduce these characters and like okay, then we can have their own things because they just came up with these characters, fit them in here. Um,
Yeah,
but they provide a, a, a fun little
yeah.
adventure.
Um, I think it's very very cool. That Infernal Girl Red has vitiligo. That's
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
a that's cool representation. I also
yeah.
I gotta say they all that like they have their different transformation words and stuff. Like Rogue said, he has his thing. Radiant Black doesn't really need to say anything. Sometimes they'll have like the alien language come up, but Inferno Girl Red is so cool because she has a watch and she has to put her like she pretty much has to do a peace sign over the watch and go Inferno Ignite, and that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's I love a good just transformation where if you know troll hunters. I know me and Shay do, but the troll hunter and that has to go for
For
the
the
glory of
glory of
Merlin.
Merlin, daylight
Daylight
is
is
mine to
mine to
command.
command.
Or if you're a little edgy, for
Oh,
the
for the
doom of
doom of
Gunmar,
Gunmar, Eclipse is
eclipse
mine
is
to
mine to
command.
command. Brother makes
Yeah,
fun of me for saying that.
I know. I don't though, and the viewers won't. The viewers think we're so cool.
They
But yeah,
don't.
it's it's a fun time. Cassia Costa, Infernal Girl Red. She's fun. She's silly. I don't remember the legal name of Rogue's son, but he's a little older. little bit less of a sense of humor, a little more cranky.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun little trio.
Great.
Nice to see them interact.
There's multiple artists on different parts of the book. And they're all really very good. Just sticking to the vibrant great colors is like just cool looking parts.
Yeah, especially like
Um,
towards the end. For very early on in the story, they lose the ability to access their powers, and they get that again towards the end, and the coloring goes absolutely insane. There's pinks, there's yellows, there's greens, there's purples, there's oranges, there's reds, there's blues,
there's
all on one
clean
page.
somehow. I don't know how they
Yeah,
did that.
the page is transparent.
It's like a actual just like mirror. Like even if you read it digitally, it's just a mirror.
Oh, I had to say too, I couldn't just because there's so many names on the cover. I was so confused because like this is Igor Monti coloring, but I was not. But the name is at the very bottom. You can always tell. You see, Igor Monti's for me at least, the trademark move is coloring panel borders to give you a sense of like the emotion that panel
Ah,
evokes. So, sometimes if it's happy, it might be green, or if it's tense, it might be yellow or orange. Or, if someone's exerting themselves, it might be, red or something like that. So whenever, like sometimes the colorists change between issues, the artists change between issues, but whenever I see a panel with the borders colored that way, I always know. I always know it's my buddy Igor. Oh, and then also one coolest move ever. Radiant Black slingshots Rogue Sun
yeah.
and Inferno Girl Red through
It's
the monster they're fighting.
it's very just showing off, just like cool, awesome kind of. And I don't even want to say Power Rangers. There's nothing like this cool in Power Rangers. Like
Yeah,
they get in a big robot and swing their little swords
yeah.
around super slow.
And here his chest births the big robot and it
Yeah,
fights on its own.
and
Um,
yeah,
which is
more
just
just like
awesome.
crazy anime kind of
Yeah.
fights.
And then oh my god, and then they work together and they upgrade Radiant Black's
Yeah,
robot. So it's not just a cool giant robot, but it's flaming and it has dragon wings.
yeah,
I also Infernal Go Red to say next time party at my place, and I wonder if that's like hinting towards the next Supermassive issue.
all right.
um I don't know. Yeah, it is fun that I like too that like it's called it's the Massiverse and they have the Supermassive issue, but I like that it really isn't too big or crazy. Not that I would dislike them getting all the characters from their own different books, because that's cool and it's great. But it's fun just like seeing what's kind of seems like it's like a big event book, but it's like, oh, it's just the guy you've already been reading about and two new characters. I like
Hmm.
that. I like that approach. But I'm sure because there's from the start of Gradient Black and then up to Massiverse, there's only one title, and after this, there's a lot more. So I'm sure that all those other titles may become included in the story. I don't really want to make predictions because Massiverse, they're gonna do what's good. They're gonna do what feels
Yeah,
right, and I'm just here to read it.
and they also have maybe it's just a digital version. I don't know. Dead Lucky teaser as well.
Oh yeah, that was in the
Yeah.
paperback.
Okay.
I like that they try to they make the Massiverse very accessible. At the end, they even say like they show you like, hey, here's volume 1 of Radiant Black, here's volume 2 of Radiant Black. You can also read the next issue of Radiant Black is going to be number 13, and Radiant Red starting soon. Inferno Girl Red's going to happen. Rogue Sun's going to happen. I like that a lot too. I was surprised too because um a lot of reading orders they say like after you read Supermassive you can kind of go anywhere, and Well, I think that's true, and I don't know about Rogue Sun, but like Inferno Girl Red, her story is, her miniseries is based before this because it's the origin. So like, you don't even, not saying that you shouldn't, but like you don't even really have to read Supermassive if you just want to start,
or
at least with
Radiant Black
Inferno
or any of
Girl.
that.
Yeah, it's just the stuff is great, and you don't have to worry about big continuity things. The universe, it's also just fairly recent. It was made a couple of years ago. So there's, and even Radiant Black, the oldest title in the whole series lineup of Massiverse titles. It's only got like 23, 24 issues out right now. So really, really easy to just
Going
jump
2
in and,
years.
huh?
Only been going for 2 years.
Yeah. So fairly easy, to just jump in and read it all if you'd like. But also, it seems that titles are just pretty easy to jump onto if you don't want to read it all. But yeah, and then as we've mentioned, and are mentioning now, there are other Massiverse titles, but we're going to be discussing all those up till the 2023 issue of Supermassive next episode. So
And that's gonna be a lot. So we'll
yeah,
probably have to. I think. Yeah, won't maybe go as into the plot of every issue and stuff, and just more
yeah,
overview of them.
yeah.
This is
Overview,
already pretty long.
feelings,
We're
everything.
working
Yeah.
the kinks out.
And the plan is to get that episode out within the next few weeks. So be on the lookout for that. If you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, maybe subscribe, turn on those notifs, and do whatever the equivalent of that is for Spotify if you're on Spotify.
Or Apple Music, or Tidal, or
I
Google
don't.
Podcasts,
I've
or
been having trouble getting the podcast on the Apple
well, you're
podcast.
gonna have to. Okay.
I'm trying. I've been trying every day and it doesn't work. I think I tried Google Podcasts, but I have to wait a couple of days for it to even be on there. So we'll see.
Our statistics show that the polls show that our mass viewership is coming from Google Podcasts. So it's the most popular podcast streaming service.
I'll take your word for it, buddy.
Don't. Bad
idea. All right. Any closing remarks? Oh, it's just silly. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to edit that out. I'm gonna have to edit that.
No.
Shay, are you okay? Shay? Shay?